Have y'all ever noticed that certain artists are associated with being bad? Like every time their names come up, the most you hear people say is that they're terrible artists. I've always wondered if these artists are truly terrible, or is it just a popular thing to say? Well, right about now, I'm about to find out if one of these artists are bad, as their name is always associated with such. French Montana is a name that's definitely synonymous with being a bad rapper. Ever since he stepped on the scene, he's earned this title. This is due to his underwhelming performances on his most popular songs. The first time I heard French Montana was on the remix to the track Work, which is where I was introduced to his lackluster style.
That ain't Kanye, no, that's Montana. A loose cannon.
That verse was one of the worst I heard that year, as his energy and bars were below average. I can honestly say that this was the only song that I truly listened to that consisted of a full French Montana verse. Besides that, I've heard some of his music in passing, and I was disappointed each time. Over the years, he's been labeled as one of the worst rappers of all time, as none of his performances are memorable or impactful. I honestly believe that he doesn't have a memorable verse or chorus on any of his popular songs. One of the main perceptions of French Montana is that he relies on guest features in order to make up for the lost element of memorable performances. It's like he's mastered his own formula to curate hits and stay relevant in the rap game with doing little to nothing. Like I always say, I'm glad that I made this series, as I can truly determine if these artists are actually bad. Just as I previously mentioned, I only listened to one French Montana verse and a couple of his popular songs in passing. These aren't efficient ways to determine if he's actually a bad artist, as I never listened to any of his projects. I'm also pretty sure that the majority of people that call French Montana trash haven't listened to an album or mixtape from him. Well, what I'm about to do right now is listen to a nice chunk of his catalog in order to determine if he's truly a bad artist. I also want to see if the common statements about him are true, like if he really relies on guest features and production in order to make his songs good. I'm going to listen to and share my thoughts on 10 of his mixtapes along with his 4 albums. With all that being said, buckle up your seatbelts and let's find out if French Montana is actually a bad rapper.
Hand in hand, see homie low. Bitch, I'm the man. I'm shorty low.
This was close to being one of the worst mixtapes I've ever heard, but with that being said, it's still pretty bad, as the majority of it consists of French Montana providing boring performances. The main issue with this project is the way French Montana raps, as he seems unenthused for a large majority of this project. He also lacks personality, which is due to his overall flow not having any characteristics. It's dry and dull, which makes for an incredibly boring listening experience. The fact that this project has 25 songs is literally torture due to the fact that French Montana's style is very monotonous. Another thing that makes this mixtape boring is the production, as most of the beats consist of generic trap and gangster instrumentals. There are also a lot of weird instances on this project, which highlights the mediocrity of French Montana's style. A perfect example of this is the song I'm at Your Wife House, as French Montana tries to convince the listener that he's sleeping with another man's wife. When he repeats the phrase I'm at your wife house, it doesn't sound convincing. I honestly feel like if he were to say that he's sleeping with another man's wife, the guy wouldn't believe him, as his delivery is extremely boring and dry, which leads to it not sounding convincing.
I'm at your wife house. My kids in the face getting wiped out. I'm at your wife.
There are also instances on this project where French Montana did perform well, only for the featured artist to provide boring flows. It's as if they took hold of French Montana's style while he actually tried to put forth effort. But thankfully this wasn't my whole experience with this project, as the later half consists of great songs. French Montana showcased that he can switch up his style and provide more intriguing elements to his delivery. He also worked well with the guest features on these tracks, and the production is solid. I'm glad that this mixtape ended off on a good note, as I was worried that French Montana's style will be incredibly boring for the entirety of this project. In conclusion, this is a pretty bad mixtape, as a large majority of it consists of boring performances from French Montana and the featured artist.
I got the bags that zip with the bricks of ice cold cash in them. The man of the town, 'cause of my
This mixtape is another lackluster performance from French Montana overall. This is very unfortunate, as the beginning of this project had high hopes, as French Montana provides a multitude of good performances. He showcased his ability to make his flow intriguing, as he provides multiple elements to his delivery. His lyrics are still extremely basic, but this isn't an issue, as his flows were interesting. His basic lyricism definitely became an issue once he reverted back to his old habits of providing unenthused performances. One thing I noticed about French Montana is that when he raps, it feels like a chore for him. This isn't good for the listener, as it also feels like a chore for me to listen to this mixtape. The runtime is absolutely deplorable due to the multiple boring performances from French Montana and the guest features. Speaking of the guest features, there's a ton of weird instances on this project where French Montana will actually provide good performances on songs, which are then ruined by guest artists. This is absolutely insane to me, as French Montana style isn't refined, which shouldn't be impossible for a guest artist to outshine him. But for some reason, these guest artists are just as boring as he is. The production on this mixtape also isn't all that interesting, as the beats have that generic gangster inspirational feel to them. French Montana's lyrics and concepts are very monotonous, which wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't for his boring rap style. But although most of this mixtape is incredibly boring, there are instances where French Montana provides good performances. There is also a track on this mixtape that's absolutely amazing, but there's a twist, as I'm not sure if French Montana is actually on the song. The song in question is True Story, which features an artist named Brock. The song has 2 verses, and both artists rapping on the verses sound identical. I can't find any other additional information on this song, so I'm not sure who's rapping. If I find out that French Montana isn't even on this song, that's gonna be crazy. But I don't think this is the case. All in all, this is another lackluster mixtape from French Montana, as his unenthused flow literally put me to sleep.
What you would do for a drug.
This is by far one of the worst mixtapes I've ever heard. I'm already prepared for the backlash I'm about to receive, but I don't care. I can already see people telling me that I don't understand this music, as I'm not in the dope game. The fact that you actually have to experience something to enjoy music says a lot about the actual music. If music is good, I shouldn't have to experience the lifestyle in order to enjoy it, as the tracks are sonically pleasing. As for this project, a large percent of it is definitely not enjoyable. I've always heard good things about the rapper Max B. This project is my introduction to him, and I'm honestly disappointed. The main thing I don't like are his singing vocals, which he does for the entirety of this mixtape. His singing vocals are horrible, and there isn't an instance on this mixtape where they were good. His singing literally sounds like a drunk uncle at a barbecue, harmonizing his favorite tunes from back in the day. When he hits high notes, his voice often cracks, and his melodies sound horrid. On top of that, his rap performances aren't that interesting, as his flows are boring, and he also has the same unenthused elements as French Montana. Speaking of French Montana, he's definitely the highlight of this mixtape, as he has the better performances. There are instances on this mixtape where his good performances are ruined by a verse or singing chorus from Max B. A perfect example of this is the song Security, which involves French Montana providing a very intriguing rap style. French Montana showcased an aggressive flow on this track, and he also provides great punchlines during his verses. His performance is then ruined by Max B's horrible singing vocals.
Always feel like somebody's watching. These niggas be creeping on me.
This happens a lot on this mixtape, and I honestly can't believe this, as I heard nothing but good things about the rapper Max B. But although Max B is the worst performer on this project, French Montana still showcases many flaws in his style. His major flaw is that he still lacks personality, as his overall style feels very generic. This is prevalent throughout this mixtape, and I honestly don't see him improving anytime soon. But although this is the case, he's still the star on this project. There are hilarious instances in this project where French Montana's singing performances are 10 times better than Max B's. When French Montana sings on tracks, it's enjoyable as his performances aren't bad. A perfect example of this is his melodic performance on the song I Warned You, as his singing vocals are very catchy on the hook.
I warned you the right way.
French Montana sings a few more times on this mixtape, and his efforts are way better than Max B's. I don't know who told Max B he can sing, but whoever souped his head up needs to be put in a straitjacket. In conclusion, this is a horrible mixtape. The majority of it is ruined by unamusing performances from French Montana and Max B. Their performances are also extremely boring due to their flows and lyrics lacking excitement.
Hell run, some syrup, my mind sometimes berserk. I write lines with syrup.
The majority of this mixtape consists of songs from French Montana's previous projects. Most of the songs that reappear on this mixtape aren't good, as a lot of them come from the Coke Wave mixtape he did with Max B. Those songs are still not enjoyable, along with the many songs that have no replay value from his mixtapes, French Revolution Volume 1 and Live from Africa. But with all that being said, there is a good aspect of this project, as the newer songs are really good. French Montana provides an exciting style on these tracks, and if it wasn't for the repeated songs that appear on this project, it may have been better than it actually is. If French Montana continues to provide provide great performances, as he did with the newer tracks on this mixtape, I might like his music a lot more. But even though this is a good aspect of this project, none of the newer tracks really stood out, as French Montana's performances didn't blow me away. He is still a mediocre rapper overall, and he has to improve a great deal in order for me to truly enjoy his music. With all that being said, this is a bad mixtape mainly due to the recycled songs I didn't care for from his previous projects. Even though the newer tracks are good, nothing stood out.
I'm everywhere to go. My Henny and my fofo.
This is another overall effort from French Montana that left me highly disappointed. At the beginning of this project, I thought that French Montana developed as he provides multiple styles and flows that are intriguing. The song Laid Down is a great track overall, as the slow inspirational instrumental is followed up with great performances from French Montana and the featured artist. The next track, New York Minute, involves French Montana providing one of his best performances yet, as his aggressive style is captivating. His style also complemented the flow of the featured artist Jadakiss exceptionally, making this a major highlight on this mixtape.
Big sunrise at your wave cap, pray that New York Minute bring Mace back, Shane that.
After these good performances, French Montana instantly reverts back to his signature unenthused flow that appeared on previous mixtapes. This aspect of this project made me highly disappointed. Another thing I realized is that French Montana has a habit of trying his absolute best on certain songs, while others he just does whatever, which leads to unappealing sounding tracks overall. The fact that French continues to do this is the reason why he keeps receiving low scores, as he doesn't put his all into each track on his mixtapes. One thing that saves this mixtape in my opinion are some of the tracks that don't sonically appeal to me overall. Although these tracks don't appeal to me, I don't think that they're horrible, as French Montana showcases that he can adapt to different styles of production. A perfect example of this is the pop style track On Fire, which features the artist Fergie. The instrumental on this song has a mainstream pop feel to it, and French Montana's vocals surprisingly match well with the production.
To the villa, fresh out Dilla, Montana by my Skrilla, catch feelings, we don't do it all.
French Montana also showcases that he can provide many different styles on a single track and effectively make it enjoyable overall. The song in question is Henny and My 44, as French Montana provides great singing vocals on the chorus that are extremely catchy. He also provides rap verses with multiple flows. The fact that French Montana has the ability to do this continues to showcase that he doesn't put effort in most of his songs. He said a line that stuck with me on the song Rain in Harlem, as he states that he isn't a lyricist, as that's not his thing. After he says this, he states that he makes songs for the hustlers.
I ain't the best lyricist, but that ain't my thing, that ain't my lane. You know I do it for the hustlers.
Which explains who his target audience is. Another thing that I got from this is that French Montana knows that he isn't skillful, which leads to him providing lackluster performances overall. Now, to be clear, lyricism isn't a qualification in order for someone to make good music, as there are a lot of artists that aren't lyrical that make good music. In French's case, I think it's overall, as he severely lacks enthusiasm and not necessarily skill, as he showcased that he could easily provide multiple styles and flows on tracks, but he just chooses not to. Another thing that I didn't like about this mixtape is that the production was wasted. The overall vibe of the production on this project is amazing, as the instrumentals are really good. Another unique thing about this mixtape is that there are constant gunshots for the entirety of it. I thought that this would have annoyed me, but it actually added to the overall feel of this project, which is that of a hustler and a gangster. There's also a celebratory element to this mixtape, which also explains the gunshots. The production is wasted for the majority of this project, as it's filled with mediocre performances from French Montana and the featured artist. An incredible thing that did happen on this project is that Max B provided a singing performance that sounded great. This is a rarity, as I don't like Max B's singing performances for the most part. On the song The Remix, his singing vocals flow very well with the slow depressing production. I honestly can't believe that there is an instance where I like Max B's singing vocals. This is definitely one of the major highlights of this mixtape for me.
I got a beautiful vein that's making a chain, and then I think it girl.
In conclusion, this is another lackluster mixtape from French Montana. I'm at the point where French Montana purposely doesn't try on these mixtapes, as there are instances where his style is intriguing, but this is very minuscule.
Be a made man, homie, and take time, and for that main time, stay on your grind.
This is the worst mixtape from French Montana so far. Everything he could possibly do wrong on this project he did. First off, the instrumentals on this mixtape are extremely mediocre, and some of them don't even feel finished. A lot of the production is very simplistic, as it feels like French Montana purposely picked the weakest beats in order to provide a ton of mediocre performances. The beat selection on this mixtape definitely reflects French Montana's overall style, as he continues to provide his signature unenthused flow throughout. He also provides his worst performances yet, which consists consist of him showcasing incredibly boring flows and a ton of unamusing vocal choices. There is also a nice chunk of this project that consists of tracks from previous mixtapes. The two tracks that I like come from the mixtapes Wit Da Cheese and his very first project, French Revolution Volume 1. This is a horrible scenario for this mixtape, as the newer songs don't have any replay value, but two old tracks do. I'm honestly lost for words, as French Montana continues to showcase a ton of unamusing performances, which feels like he doesn't care about what he records. In conclusion, this is the worst project from French Montana so far, and I'm pretty sure that he has more of these terrible projects in his discography.
A hammer for a ring, a vest for a suit, and a judge for a priest. Jury taking.
This mixtape is another lackluster effort from French Montana overall. One thing that's very bothersome is that French Montana has the ability to provide multiple unique styles, but he doesn't bother to, which is starting to become a recurring theme on these mixtapes. He kicked this mixtape off with a very exciting performance on the track Cocaine Konvicts, as his aggressive flow matches exceptionally well with the inspirational production.
My jewelry got the blues. I'm out the king. Rod Sterling. Twilight.
After this, he provides a multitude of boring performances that continue to highlight his signature unamusing style. There was a song on this album where French Montana said that he has over 2,000 songs, and I can assume that most of those tracks consist of him providing extremely dreadful performances. French Montana is the pure definition of quantity over quality, as it seems like he just wanted to get as much music out as possible in order to keep his name buzzing. Now, one thing I'm not gonna do is knock French's hustle, because it obviously worked, but when I listen to these projects, his lackluster style is very noticeable. But although this was another disappointing effort from French, I didn't think that there was a single song on this project that was bad. These tracks are still incredibly boring, and they severely lack replayability. In conclusion, this is another dreadful mixtape from French Montana, as most of the songs consist of him providing his signature unamusing style.
Dreams is vivid, work hard to live. Everywhere we go, we got land in. I can niggas.
This project honestly shocked me, as there are a ton of instances where French Montana and Max B provide great performances. While I was listening to this project, it seriously felt like French Montana and Max B improved on their overall styles. Max B's singing performances didn't annoy me like they did on previous projects. One reason this is the case is that the production is tweaked in a way that matches well with his unorthodox melodic style. French Montana also showcased multiple flows and styles on these tracks. Him and Max B's chemistry is at its best on this project. This is kinda crazy, as I was skeptical about giving this project a chance. I'm glad I did, as it showcases that French Montana and Max B have the ability to make enjoyable music. Max B's singing vocals have yet to fully grow on me, but there are quite a bit of instances on this project where his performances are very catchy. A perfect example of this is his singing performance on the song Tonight. This track is also an instance where the production matches Max B's unorthodox style exceptionally well, as the dreary instrumental combines well with his overall low and tone flow. The song Oh Wah, Do What I Gotta Do is very interesting, as I can understand the appeal of it, as Max B provides an extremely catchy performance. But although this is the case, the sound of his voice still didn't appeal to me on this track. This is another common occurrence on this project, which isn't necessarily a flaw, as I can understand why it may appeal to a certain audience. This is just another case of a unique artist's voice not being appealing to me sonically. But just because it's not appealing to me doesn't mean that it's not appealing to someone else. One great thing about this mixtape is that it holds absolute bangers. These tracks are perfect in my opinion, as everything about them was executed amazingly. The song Not Going Home is also a track that appeared on French Montana's mixtape Wit Da Cheese, called The Remix. The version that appears on this mixtape is absolutely incredible, as it's more enhanced. This leads to the quality of this track being better than the original one. The singing and rapping performance from Max B matches exceptionally well with the dreary inspirational production. Lloyd Banks is a new addition to this track, and his verse fits the gritty feel of this track exceptionally. French Montana also provides an energetic verse, making this the best track from French Montana and Max B hands down.
What do you do inside? Go against the grind. In the feds, number B on 9.
Another amazing track on this album is the remix to the song New York Minute, which also appeared on French Montana's mixtape Wit Da Cheese. This remix track also has new elements about it that are absolutely amazing. One thing in particular is the transition between French Montana's original verse, where he states that he wishes that a New York Minute would bring Mace back. Right after he says this, the featured artist Mace provides a very energetic verse. This leads to the original verses from French Montana and Jadakiss matching well with Mace's new verse. Another great thing about this track is that the instrumental has newly added elements, which gives this song an entirely new feel, and it was executed extremely well in my opinion.
I lean on these
is like the old penny. I microwave the game like the old Vinny. I'm still.
There are a handful of good tracks on this mixtape, and I'm honestly shocked by how good this project is, as I've been introduced to nothing but mediocrity up to this point. But although this mixtape is a great improvement, there are still a lot of songs on this project that have no replay value. The reason this is the case is that French Montana and Max B revert back to their old ways, as they provide unamusing performances overall. In conclusion, this is a really good mixtape, and it's the best project in French Montana's catalog so far. This mixtape has a very strong start, as French Montana has a newly found confidence in his flow. He also has unique elements to his style, which consists of intriguing flows and delivery. Another thing that's great about the first half of this mixtape is the production. The instrumentals in this segment are absolutely incredible, as they have inspirational elements. This also leads to French Montana providing motivational lyrics, which makes these songs incredible. You witness this at the very beginning of this mixtape on the intro track Mac and Cheese intro. French Montana provides a captivating aggressive style on this track that's comparable to the likes of the rap group Dipset. This also goes for the instrumental, which is due to the familiar drum patterns that you'll hear in the Cameron or Joel Santana song.
My vision blurred, my diamonds clear, my money dirty, think my time is lit.
The next track they did a great job with these elements is the song In My Life, which is a major highlight for me. This song has an incredible instrumental with addictive singing melodies, and French Montana provides a passionate rap style with lyrics about how he overcame certain hardships in order to get where he's at today. The first half of this mixtape has been the best first half from French Montana so far, and I'm completely amazed by his performances, but sadly he wasn't able to do this for the entirety of this project as he reverts back to his old ways. This includes him providing lackluster performances with boring and unamusing flows. Another thing that I don't like about this mixtape is that some of the songs are mixed poorly. A perfect example of this is the third installment of the song New York Minute, which features Nicki Minaj. I'm highly upset that the quality of this song is poor, as Nicki Minaj absolutely killed her verse. If I had to explain the sound quality of this track, it's comparable to someone downloading it through a YouTube to MP3 converter on the lowest setting. After they download it, they then upload it to YouTube, which leads to you trying to search for a better quality of the song. Well, I tried to search for a better quality of this track and I couldn't find it. Like I said before, this is unfortunate as the verses in the song itself are really good, especially the newly added verse from Nicki Minaj.
Now all the kids when a Nicki Minaj book bag. Bitch, I've been hard since my part had a zigzag.
Another example of the poor mixing on this mixtape is the song I'm On It. Wiz Khalifa, Big Sean, and Nipsey Hussle's verses all sound like they recorded them on a jail phone. French Montana has the clearest verse on this song, and it's weird to me that this is the case. But although this mixtape has these mishaps, I can honestly say that I enjoyed it for the most part, as French Montana improved to a great degree. Another major highlight is the song Money Money Money, which has what I think is the best instrumental on this project. The beat is very catchy, and the trance-like feel of it is very addictive. French Montana provides extremely catchy vocals on the chorus, and his verse is great as well. The featured artist Cheese also drops a great verse.
Money, 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 money.
In conclusion, this is a pretty good mixtape as French Montana improved on his style, but although this is the case, he still reverts back to his old ways, which makes a lot of this project have skippable tracks.
Rich off net, now triple my net worth. Hopping out the jet, shorty got that neck work.
I'm now fully convinced that French Montana doesn't try on purpose. I had high expectations for this mixtape as his previous one was a major step up. This project started off very rocky as it consists of a ton of lackluster performances from French Montana. This mixtape holds some of French Montana's worst performances as it's prevalent that he's not trying. One thing French Montana did that I don't like on this project is constantly provide an annoying singing flow. His delivery with this style is unbearable to listen to as it isn't sonically pleasing in the slightest. One thing that I did like about French Montana style on this mixtape is that he continues to exude confidence in his overall flow. There are quite a few instances on this project where I didn't like his overall style on a song, but I did like his confidence. But although these flaws exist, French Montana also showcased that he can present interesting and intriguing styles on tracks. His best performance yet appears on this project, and I was completely blown away by the execution. The song in question is Sanctuary, which consists of French Montana providing a unique style that also contains catchy flows. Another great thing about French Montana's performance on this track is that his delivery has elements of pain and passion, which makes for a captivating listening experience.
Headshot, didn't die. God got a plan for you. Bounce back, hit the block. OG got the
This track proves that French Montana has the ability to craft an amazing song, but he chooses not to for the most part. Another thing French Montana did exceptionally is complement the various styles from the featured artist. A major highlight for me is the song Diamonds, which has a catchy instrumental, along with French Montana providing a catchy hook. His rap verses match well with the styles of J. Cole and Rick Ross to a great degree. He did this several more times on this mixtape, which continues to prove that he can adapt to many different styles in production. Although French Montana's inconsistencies are frustrating on this project, I will admit that I'm glad I'm experiencing this, as it's given me great insight on how French Montana approaches his projects. As I mentioned on previous mixtapes that I reviewed from him, it's about quantity over quality. The majority of French Montana's projects have over 20 tracks. If one of those 20 tracks gets put in the spotlight, it's going to be a win for French. I'm honestly not mad at this method, as it worked for him to a great degree, but I can't lie and say that this method doesn't affect his projects, as it most certainly does. He puts his all into a few songs, and the rest are just him providing unamusing performances. Thankfully for this project, the performances I thought were good are really good, and these songs have very high replay value. In conclusion, this is a decent mixtape, as the majority of it consists of uninteresting performances. But on the flip side, there are gems on this project that shouldn't go unnoticed, as they are some of French Montana's best performances.
Ain't worried about nothing. Ain't worried about nothing. I ain't worried about nothing.
I am highly impressed by French Montana's performance on this album. The first thing I must note is that there isn't an instance on this project where it feels like French Montana wasn't trying, as he gives each track his 100% all. This leads to him showcasing his abilities exceptionally well, which leads to intriguing performances. There are many instances on this album that consist of French Montana providing various styles, which adds to the overall enjoyment of this project. One major highlight for me is his auto-tune melodic and rap performance on the song Paranoid. His melodies on this track are both catchy and addictive. He also worked well with the featured artist on this track. Young Cash provides a melodic performance, which blends well with French Montana's unique style.
I'll be the hottest nigga out my city. I'ma hit you with some shit you never seen.
Speaking of featured artists, French Montana works well with them for the most part. This continues to showcase his ability to adapt to different styles. I must talk about the elephant in the room, as it's a well-known critique that French Montana gets carried by featured artists on his songs. If you ask me, that isn't the case on this project, as he provides the same enjoyability as the guest features. This is because he's not providing lazy performances like he does on his mixtapes. I believe since this is his album, he's going to take it more seriously, which is definitely the vibe that I got while listening to this project. Another amazing thing about this album is that it's the perfect balance of party tracks and songs with introspective concepts. A perfect example of an introspective track is the intro song Once in a While. This song consists of him reflecting on various hardships in his life that led to him achieving the success he has in the current day. Another element to this track that's a constant theme on this album is that of celebration, as French Montana enjoys the fruits of his labor. A perfect example that highlights this is the song We Go Wherever We Want, which is a major highlight for me. This song has the best instrumental on the album, as it has a gloomy feel to it with an addictive melody that samples the classic track from Raekwon the Chef called Ice Cream. This is also another instance where French Montana works well with the featured artist, as Neo provides heavenly singing vocals, and Raekwon the Chef drops a great rap verse.
Chains, all the bad hoes came with us. Shorty held me down when the people on me.
But I can't talk about French Montana's collaborations on this project without talking about the hit song Pop That, which includes all of the featured artists dropping incredible verses over a hype instrumental. All of this is a recurring theme on this album, and the execution is remarkable. But although there's a lot of good on this project, there are instances where I didn't like the creative choices from French Montana. A perfect example is the song Gifted. The vibe of this track is that of a dark, gloomy feel due to the production and The Weeknd's cloudy singing vocals. This vibe is then ruined by French Montana's hype and inspirational flow, which throws off the natural vibe of this track. Other flaws come from songs not being interesting enough for me to want to come back to them, such as the final track Busted Open, which is a dollar store version of the song Pop That.
Bust it open. Bust it open. Bust it open.
Thankfully, these minor flaws didn't ruin this album for me, as I enjoyed it for the most part. I knew that French Montana was holding back, as he showcased various exciting elements of his style on his mixtapes. He implemented these interesting styles on this album, and it came out great. This is a really interesting album from French Montana, as it's a complete mix bag. There are also a lot of layers to it. I will start off by stating that French Montana continues to showcase his versatility as he adapts to many different styles of production. He's also capable of adapting to the styles from guest artists, which continues to highlight his immense versatility. He has the ability to provide traditional rap verses and harmonize with the use of auto-tune. Although he's able to present multiple unique styles on this album, a lot of it is mediocre. The reason I say this is because French Montana's creative choices aren't sonically appealing on a lot of tracks. Another thing that affects this album is that it lacks versatility in its concepts. This in itself isn't bad, as concepts are not what makes songs good. The reason this is noticeable is because French Montana provides a lot of unamusing performances on this project. As I was listening to this project, I realized that French Montana is the most complex rapper I've ever heard. The reason I say this is because he's capable of presenting many different elements to his performances. What I mean by this is that he has the ability to seem uninterested on a song. He knows how to effectively showcase his unique style. He can provide passionate performances, and he can also present performances that aren't bad, but they're mediocre. If I'm being honest, this is absolutely amazing, as I can't think of another artist that's capable of doing this. With that being said, French Montana provides great performances on this project while also presenting a ton of mediocre ones. The only track on this album that has a deep concept is the intro song Whiskey Eyes. French Montana provides a passionate performance, as you can hear the pain in his voice as he's reflecting on his hardships. Another element to this track that reflects French Montana's passionate style is the loss of his longtime friend Chinks. You can tell that this affected him on this song, as it's very noticeable when he raps.
Puerto Rico, them Bronx streets, Teflon fleece, in the jungle while you holding hands apart.
The next track, Unforgettable, is the most popular song on this album. I definitely remember this track when it came out, as it was huge. This was my first time listening to this song, and there's always been a popular consensus about it. Many people state that Sway Lee outdid French Montana on this song. I myself agree with this, as Sway Lee's melodic vocals are heavenly, and they match the feel of the gloomy upbeat instrumental exceptionally well. It is also a popular consensus that French Montana's involvement on the song is irrelevant. I disagree with this statement, as French Montana performs well alongside Sway Lee, as he provides intriguing singing vocals. This has also led to me realizing that I'm someone that doesn't believe that French Montana is carried by features, as he oftentimes matches the styles of these artists, as he has multiple styles and flows in his arsenal.
She want the last name with the ring on it, cause I pulled out $1 million cash, told her blank on it.
Another example of this is the song Blackout, which involves Young Thug providing a very creative style. Young Thug has various voice changes and flows on this track that's highly impressive. This in totality makes this song incredibly catchy, along with the upbeat instrumental. French Montana didn't disappoint on this track, as he assisted Young Thug remarkably. Another intriguing style that French Montana presents on this album are his melodic vocals. His singing vocals are not bad at all, and I'm highly impressed by this. A major highlight that showcases this is the song Famous. French Montana sings throughout this track, and his performance is really good. This track also has an Afrobeat dance feel to it, which continues to showcase that French Montana can adapt to different styles of production.
Even though the world was meant for you, hope you don't.
Another example that highlights French Montana's creative style is the song White Dress, which is the best track on the album in my opinion. He presents multiple flows on this track with the use of auto-tune, which is intriguing as it combines well with the dark, gloomy production.
I pray we live, baby, 4,000 years.
But just as I said before, although I can admit that French Montana provides intriguing styles on this album, a lot of it is still mediocre due to a ton of tracks not appealing to me sonically. With all this being said, this is a decent project overall. The songs that I enjoyed are very unique, and they have very high replay value.
I style, no stylish, no Chanel, Saint Laurent, Gucci.
French Montana took a major step back on this project. I like the vibe I was getting from his albums up to this point, as it felt like he was putting his all into them. I got a different feel than I got from his mixtapes, as he seemed more focused. I don't get this same feeling on this project, as it's filled with a ton of unamusing performances that include French Montana seeming unenthused. But this doesn't even scratch the surface by how bad this album is, as there are a ton of elements that make it so. Before I talk about the bad, I want to talk about the good. French Montana still has the ability ability to present a multitude of styles, which is always going to be a major plus for me. He also continues to work well with the featured artists, as he matches the styles and flows of them exceptionally well. But by me saying this, it's like having a double-sided coin, as French Montana and the guest features provide mediocre performances. Also, when it comes to his multiple styles, they are sonically unappealing for the most part. One perfect example of this is the song That Way, which involves French Montana providing an entirely different flow that I've never heard from him. The production on this track is that of an old school 90s hip-hop feel, which includes French Montana matching this vibe. French Montana has that Run DMC flow, along with sounding like various rappers from the 90s.
Queens, Harlem, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx never capped, put it on the map, in the city on my back.
I definitely commend his interest in this style, but the execution was poor. He continues to experiment with his singing vocals, along with the use of auto-tune. One very noticeable thing about this album is that French Montana tried to capitalize off his major hit song from his previous album called Unforgettable. This leads to him making a handful of songs that have an upbeat dance feel to them, with the subject matter being about loving a woman. These songs quickly became tiresome, as the performances from French Montana and the featured artist are generic. The only performance that I enjoyed on these songs is Cardi B's verse on the track Writing on the Wall. She absolutely killed her vocals on this track, as her flow is energetic. Speaking of the featured artist, their appearances on this project are lackluster for the most part. There are two horrible songs where the styles from French Montana and the guest features are downright unlistenable. The song Lifestyle is a rare example of French Montana not matching the styles of the guest features, as he usually assists them greatly. Kodak Black, Kevin Gates, and French Montana have horrible chemistry on this track, as their vocals don't flow well with each other. Another major flaw on this track is the instrumental, as it sounds all over the place. This in totality makes this a horrible track, as it doesn't blend well together at all. But the worst song on the album in my opinion is the song Slide, as it's incredibly sloppy. There isn't a single good performance on this track, as French Montana, Lil TJ, and Blueface all present unorthodox styles that sound like crap. French Montana probably has the weirdest performance on this song, as his flow switches are incredibly bad. There's a moment on this track that threw me off, as the beat switch didn't match the vibe of the artist and production at all. In the middle of the song, the beat switches to a very familiar track that comes from Snoop Dogg called Serial Killer. This did not match the main instrumental on this track, along with the styles of French Montana and the featured artist. French Montana also tries to present his old school flow on this song, which sounds incredibly cringy.
So some mark ass niggas on the corner flagging me like what's up with you? Several max.
There are also moments on this album where French Montana's flow on the song is unbearable to listen to. A perfect example of this is the track Saucy. For some reason he decides to use the worst flow possible, as it consists of him stammering throughout the track. His delivery is also that of an amateur rapper. This combination is insanely bad, and I have no idea why he chose to rap like this on this song.
Top the man, sneeze, I drop a band, stunt like Muslim on Eid, I cop the lamb.
But although there is a ton of bad on this album, there are some good things about it. I like the homage French Montana gives to 3 6 Mafia, as he has 2 tracks on this project that references the album Most Known Unknown by 3 6 Mafia. The song 50s and 100s is a great track, as it samples the song Roll With It from the Most Known Unknown album. French Montana also matches well with the featured artist on this track, which is Juicy J, as they both provide entertaining verses.
French got peel, French got that work on the corner cutting deal. French know you hate.
Sadly, French Montana and Juicy J weren't able to create this same magic on the song Twisted, which is another track that samples a song from the 3 6 Mafia album Most Known Unknown. The performances from French Montana and the featured artist are incredibly dull on this track, which is a common occurrence on this project. Another important thing that I must note is that French Montana sounded like he was sick on a couple of songs. It sounded like he had a cold on the tracks Salam Alaikum, That Way, and No Stylist. This is very noticeable to me, and it's another element that makes French Montana's performances unappealing sonically. But with all this being said, there are still some great tracks on this project that have replay value. French Montana provides a captivating style on the song Say Goodbye, as his vocals match exceptionally well with the ghostly trance-like production.
Getting drunk, I'm telling sober truths. Oh, prove.
Another extreme banger on this project is the song Lockjaw, as French Montana and Kodak Black provide catchy performances over an upbeat instrumental. In conclusion, this is a terrible album from French Montana. I'm very disappointed, as I have high hopes for him, but just as he continues to showcase that he can do better, he goes back to doing his absolute worst.
Round with 2 sticks, like a chopstick. Youngins making keys flip, like the locks.
French Montana picked it back up on this album as it has a lot of enjoyable elements. First off, I like the overall concept of this project. French Montana reflects back on a time in 2019 where he suffered a heart attack which led to him fighting for his life in the hospital. He references this on the intro track How You King, which involves him reflecting on his life. He talks about how people wanted to take his position, and he asked them what makes them think that they're worthy of his spot. All of this is during his time in the hospital as he's on the outside looking in. French Montana also states that people must have amnesia as they forgot about the work he's put in and the impact he's made in the rap game. This album is a perfect blend of introspective concepts along with party tracks. Another element about this album that I like is the celebratory feel as French Montana continues to acknowledge his success, as it led to him living a comfortable and lavish lifestyle. Another thing that's great about this project is the fact that French Montana continues to showcase his unique style, which consists of multiple flows. He also perfected his ability to match the styles of the featured artists remarkably on this project. The whole French Montana is carried by features narrative is something I don't believe at all, as he's always been able to perform well alongside guest artists. A major highlight that showcases this is the song Handstand. I was highly impressed at French Montana's ability to match the styles of Doja Cat and Sweetie on this track. I think what I'm trying to say is Sweetie and Doja Cat are of the new generation of female rappers and rap in general. French Montana's ability to blend in with both of their styles makes this track incredibly enjoyable. The vocals from French Montana, Sweetie, and Doja Cat are extremely catchy, along with the instrumental, which samples an addictive melody from the classic song from Big Pun called It's So Hard.
Ricky, that he dipping through the avenue. French, come on, ratchet in the baddie, she won't carry.
Another example of French Montana's style blending perfectly with the featured artist is the song Stuck in the Jungle, which includes very unique styles from Lil Durk and Pop Smoke. This song is full of creativity, as the different styles from Lil Durk, Pop Smoke, and French Montana are highly enjoyable. One weird thing that I noticed about this album is that French Montana provided a style on a handful of tracks that had me questioning if his verses were conjured up with the use of artificial intelligence. The reason I say this is because his performances on these tracks seem very robotic and not natural. By listening to 10 plus projects from French Montana, I think that I've grown to know his personality and demeanor on his songs. The tracks that involve this rap style on this project don't have the same personality and demeanor as all the songs from French Montana that I listen to. I noticed this on the first 4 tracks as his flow feels unnatural. But even though this is the case, I don't think these songs are bad, as French Montana's soulless performances still sound good on these tracks.
And them 20 cars you rapping about, I spent that on that Bugatti acting out. 2 million.
Now I could be just tripping, but this is how I truly feel about some of the songs on this album. Another thing I want to say is that I'm someone that's not completely against AI depending on how it was used. If French Montana did use AI on this project, I wouldn't even be mad, as it's replicating his voice. But like I said before, I could be just tripping about all this, and it's not that big of a deal, but it is noticeable to me. The negatives on this album is that it holds a ton of tracks that have nothing to offer. These tracks are generic overall from the production and performances from French Montana and the featured artist. But the good thing about this is that I don't think these songs are bad, but they don't have replay value, which greatly affects this project. Another good thing about this album is that it holds one of French Montana's most passionate performances, which is on the song Losing Weight. You can most definitely feel the pain, and French Montana's voice as the lyrics are really deep. This song has an amazing concept, as losing weight refers to cutting off negative things in order to focus on your goals. This song also has a motivational message from French Montana's longtime friend Max B, who's currently locked up. I like this part of the song, as Max B has hope that he'll soon be released, which will lead to him and French Montana taking over the rap game, just as they did in their Coke Wave era.
Call a pass, I'm numbing pain, I'm cutting ox, CEOs, CODs.
In conclusion, this is a pretty good album, as I enjoyed a nice chunk of it. It has some serious highlights, while also having a ton of mediocre tracks as well. Now to answer the question, is French Montana actually a bad rapper? According to my grading scale, he's not. I'm honestly okay with the grading, as I also believe that he's not a bad rapper. What I've come to learn by listening to 14 of his projects is that he's someone who's keen on quantity over quality. French Montana is someone that puts a lot of music out in order to find that one hit that's going to put him on the forefront. This has obviously worked for him, as he's very successful with this method. Another thing that I discovered is that French Montana himself is not a bad rapper. He just chooses to be. There are a lot of instances where it's obvious that he's not trying his hardest, as he has the ability to provide multiple styles and flows. He also knows how to make catchy choruses and catchy songs in general. Another thing that was disputed is the common notion that French Montana is carried by guest features. As someone that has listened to a large majority of his catalog, I don't believe that there is any instance where French Montana was carried by guest artists, as he matched their styles exceptionally well. This was something that was surprising to me, as I thought that there would have been a lot of instances where he would be outperformed. But although French Montana has a lot of great traits about his rap style, the bad definitely outweighed the good, especially on his earlier projects, but his inability to provide intriguing styles throughout his catalog also affects his later projects, as he uses the same formula of quantity over quality the majority of the time. He definitely has amazing songs, but you're going to definitely have to dig for those gems, as the majority of his efforts are mediocre and lackluster. I can definitely understand why some would call French Montana a bad rapper, as he's very inconsistent with making good music. But for me, I believe he chooses to do this in order to get a lot of music out there. I will also say that French Montana can never be a bad rapper, as he created one of my all-time favorite songs, which is Sanctuary, from his mixtape Mac and Cheese 3.
You already know that. All this money I'll be staring at.
This is one of my favorite songs now, as it's absolutely incredible from start to finish. It's also a great example of French Montana putting his heart and soul on a track that consists of him providing an intriguing style. In conclusion, this was probably the most interesting listening experience I've had so far. And although I was let down for the most part, I still enjoyed myself, as I was able to find countless gems from French Montana. I'm definitely not against listening to the rest of his catalog, as it will possibly lead to me finding more gems. With that being said, this was another episode of my Bad Rapper series. Stay tuned, because I plan to do a lot more.